Would you say that that is mostly good to have gatekeepers around the faith and the space?
And when you're saying gatekeeper, then it does feel like elitism, presbytery of elders, I think might be a safer term to use. I would say yes. I think the issue is when it gets controlling and it gets excessive and abusive, we have a problem. But I think having elders that we would consider seasoned saints to be able to hold people accountable, I think that's healthy.
You know, essentially you think about gatekeepers, you think, haters.
There's a responsibility that the elders have to make sure there's not foolishness coming into the body. So I like the fact that he said that even though it looks distasteful on the surface, and it could be, we have to dissect each one at a time, but the function is actually godly.
You think of it like more like haters. Pretty much when people say gatekeepers, there's haters that want me out.
That's why I thought it was so mature, his response, because he's actually on the other side of kind of the argument here.
Yeah.
He's on the deliverance, prophets, apostles side.
But the question is, who are the quote-unquote right people?
The real issue is
It's some weird things happening out here.
Yeah.
Everybody that's probably known what's going on with Hard Initiated. You've seen the episode we put out recently with Tiffany Montgomery, with a lot of what she experienced. And, Tiffany shot a podcast with a very well-respected podcast in this space that was not released because he received a phone call and said, shut it down.
Wow.
That can't go out. Before we did that episode, I received a call from somebody very much well-respected, somebody that I respect very well. And he said, listen, I typically get some phone calls, from some people before they come on your show. And, I essentially gave him the thumbs up. So you bring this person on, essentially that thumb might not go up next time.
Right.
And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it was. And it was a couple other things stated that, I'll keep confidential. But I'm starting to hear more, and I've heard this before we even got to this level, that there are going to be gatekeepers, which is just nuts to me to think that happens, but in God's kingdom. But there are gatekeepers that are going to keep and protect access for certain people to get in rooms, you to get access to certain things. Right. And I guess that's what we commonly talking about here, this Christian Illuminati. So can you give us context to this whole thing?
Well, first let me say this. I guess the term Illuminati would probably not be the best term to use. I think gatekeeper will probably fit more. In the church, I think the church would view them as elders, seasoned saints that are well respected within the Christian community, whose primary goal, the role of the elder in the Old Testament was, this is why you would find in the text, the elders would be at the city gates, and they would kind of perceive those who came in and those who went out. So it would be safe to say that their primary function would be to be a protective barrier to not allow wrong influences to either come in and for right influences to not go out. I think what happens is within the Christian community is that God does give a unique sphere of influence to a group of saints. And I think they self-impose that role upon themselves and feel that, I don't want to broad brush and say that they're doing it with malicious intent, but with a lot of responsibility and with a lot of influence, I guess that what comes with it is some sort of gatekeeping in regards to that. So I think people are trying to be faithful to the influence that God might have given to them. What I think happens is that they forget that the individuals that are gatekeeping, or forget that they also themselves are finite and human, and they can miss it sometimes. So sometimes they'll close the door on something that God is trying to bring in, or refuse to let something out that God is trying to kick out. So I think that just happens within every Christian community. But it does exist. I've been in those platforms. I still travel in those platforms. And I do get pushed back because of the deliverance. I've had doors closed simply because of a phone call, saying don't get this guy on. Or I've been on a platform and the platform has gotten calls immediately after I left, after being posted, and then I never got the platform, the invitation to come back. So I think, it exists. What I'm still struggling with is if the people that are doing it, if they're doing it with malicious intent, or they're doing it genuinely thinking that they're doing the right thing, because maybe their theology doesn't embrace that, that particular line of thinking. So they're thinking, well, I don't agree with that line of thinking. I think this is detrimental to the body of Christ. So I'm going to close those doors. So I don't think they're thinking it as, I'm blocking you. Their thinking is I'm protecting the flock. You know what I'm saying? So I think there is where, I go, oh, wow. Like, so I think we would have to press it a little bit further and kind of flesh this out a little bit. So, but it does exist. It does exist. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And I've experienced it and still experience it to some degree.
So you believe that there actually is a bit of health in, just gatekeepers in general, especially as it has a function of protection.
Right.
In that way. So would you say that is mostly good to have gatekeepers, especially around the faith and the space?
I think it's maybe we need to redefine the word. You know what I'm saying? When you're saying gatekeeper, then it does feel like elitism.
Absolutely.
One percenters. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe a presbytery of elders or eldership, I think might be a more of a safer term to use. I would say yes, I think the eldership of any Christian organization should be there to protect that organization from going off into error or, dishonoring the name of Christ or whatever the case may be. I think the issue after that is the control part of it. When it gets controlling and it gets excessive and abusive, then I think we have a problem. But I think having elders, or I don't like using that term gatekeeper, but having elders or those that we would consider seasoned saints to be able to hold people accountable, I think that's healthy. But I think it can become unhealthy by extremes and abuses.
I thought that was a very, very good measured response from Pastor Pagani.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was the best. It was an unexpected answer, I'll be honest. But I thought that was a really good response to it, and it kind of opens up the conversation a little bit more in a responsible way. And great questions from the guys as well, because they were genuinely confused. And I think his answer, it made me think that this whole idea we've been talking about all year about gatekeepers, we've talked about it like in a negative context, but essentially the elders were the watchmen at the gate, right? Yeah. Making sure that whatever's coming in is good, is not going to harm us. And like he said, what's going out, those people won't get lost. So there's a responsibility that the elders have to make sure there's not foolishness coming into the body. So I like the fact that he said that even though it looks distasteful on the surface, and it could be, we have to dissect each one at a time, but the function is actually godly to say,
it is.
Hey, so-and-so is not right. Like that can't happen. Now, the problem is it being abused? Is it being abused? Are people gatekeeping in a godly manner, or is it more now kind of like territorial?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way he put it because, when essentially you think about gatekeepers, you think, haters or whatever, right? And so when you think about it like that, you're like, okay, so yeah, this is good. We do need to make sure that we don't allow, foolishness up in here and people to say anything, on a platform or on a pulpit that, we're going to have to come back and, clean up later. I told you all that story at my church where we had a comedian come in and he set his Red Bull on the altar. And the next day, the next day the pastor was like, yo, the altar was disrespected. We don't put up with that here. So, yeah, I get it. I mean, and the person who allowed that person to come in was kind of like, able to schedule that, set it up without us actually, being able to say, hey, yay or nay on that situation. So, I mean, it's definitely a good way to protect. And I like the way he put it as well because you don't think of it that way. You think of it like more like haters. I mean, I think it's pretty much when people say gatekeepers, there's haters that want me out. Like, I think that's kind of what Marcus was expressing earlier this year. So yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's a good way to keep accountability in the church, within the body in there. And also, yeah, don't want anybody in the church that's not supposed to be there or, false doctrine or anything like that. So
it's a double-edged sword. I think it's a double-edged sword because, like, what you saying is real. Like it does protect people. It's almost like a protection of like protecting this place so that people won't like you said, get in, get out. The right people get in. But the question is, who are the quote unquote right people? And is that based off of people's own theology? Is that based off of, what I'm saying? Like, What is that based off of? Is that based off of personal preference? You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I thought it was so mature, his response, because he's actually on the other side of kind of the argument here.
Yeah.
He's on the deliverance, prophets,
Yeah.
apostles side. And for him to have that level-headedness to say, these people may not be doing this maliciously. They're just trying to protect what they think is right.
Yeah.
Same thing that his church will probably do from things that they think is evil. So the real issue is the two camps that are battling right now. Is there a way for us to come together, or is our theology so different that there's a rift that can't be healed?
Well, I think people gotta ask the question of, I think James said this before, like the core fundamentals. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we agree with the core fundamentals, then what's the problem? You know what I mean? Because I think the thing is, like, is Jesus God? Did he resurrect? I just had a brain fart. You believe in the Trinity? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just certain things that's in the essentials of our
But
faith.
some of those are up for debate in these two groups.
Yeah, I mean, but what I'm saying is, to me, is if somebody, majority of the time, the people that, if they believe in deliverance or whatever, sometimes they're like more of the, if you ask him, using him as an example, I'm sure he'll say Jesus is God. I'm sure he'll say he died and rose again. I'm sure he'll say you got to repent for your sins. Like, the foundation of it. You know what I mean? So that's what, to me, if we all had different approaches on doing ministry, because that's what majority of the time is theology is, and you came to me and we all had a conversation, and you go, man, I don't know about the gift stuff, but you legit, then I guess the question goes, would you still gatekeep me because I believe in this or I believe in that, versus like if I'm just a person that's saying Jesus ain't God.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing that now too, and especially in Christian hip hop, we're starting to see
we're
people
saying the Trinity ain't the Trinity.
Yeah.
The Father is the Son, and we're seeing a lot of weird
Yeah.
stuff coming.
So I mean, I think that's the question. How do you approach it? Because to me, if we got the fundamentals right, then we good. You just don't like the way I approach stuff. You don't like the way I may say stuff, or you may not like the way I may preach about certain things. Then that's a conversation we can have. But to stop somebody is kind of like,
well, the issue is the things that we mentioned. There are some disagreements.
Yeah.
So
it's
what do you
dangerous.
do if somebody does come and say there is no Trinity? Would you still let them preach? Would you still let them
I
kind of?
couldn't. And the reason why I couldn't is because then you don't believe what we believe.
Okay. What if somebody came in and said that Jesus wasn't God?
That's the same. Ain't that the same?
What if somebody said that the Father was the Son was the Spirit? It's kind of this all kind of the same thing, but these are three.
How would you
different
do
things that
if you was a pastor? Would you tell that person nah?
Exactly, yeah.
You
You couldn't preach because I need to preach to you. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a core foundational belief. You know?
Yeah.
So that's where we're getting into issues now. Is cessationalism versus continuation?
Yeah.
Is that a core?
I don't
belief?
think it is, man.
Because that's where some of this fight is are there prophets and apostles that continue on?
Yeah.
Is it more were prophets and apostles more an Old Testament thing, and now we have more teaching and evangelism?
Honestly,
Yeah, I
some
think
people
that
are
could be.
just on some. Is that person a false prophet? Like that.
That's
It's not.
the
It's not
number
even.
one thing.
It's not even that. When we're talking
even
about
if
that,
you agree, this
Yeah.
person in particular has shown to be a false prophet. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I mean? That's the question to ask is like,
But that's why we're stuck, because there's people who genuinely believe that they are false prophets and false apostles, and then there's people who genuinely believe that they're wrong about that.
yeah.
So how do we come together? That's why people are being gate-kept
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of those core things.
Do you think that was the question they were asking? Because I hear all the time artists say, man, there's gatekeepers that's keeping my music from being played and stuff like that. You know, that's kind of how.
There is.
Yeah, but do you think that when they asked that question, they were more along the lines of what's going on with the church or what's going on with certain groups?
But-
Like, it feels like they're calling gatekeepers the folks that, keep you out of circles.
But I'll say this for example. I use us as an example. We got gatekeep before, but that didn't stop us. We went around it. You know what I'm saying? Are we in like the quote unquote creme de la creme circles of these people? Probably not. But at the same time, we understood what we stood on business. You know what I'm saying?
But people will say that we're gatekeepers.
Oh, people definitely say we're gatekeepers.
Gatekeeping what?
Music. Yeah.
There's certain music that
yeah.
you play or don't play. There's certain topics we
don't
do or
even play
don't
music.
do.
We like.
But I mean, you have a playlist.
We like BET.
No. But you have a playlist. You have line for line. We have line for line.
People, I got text messages yesterday. I got emails yesterday.
somebody
How do I
saying
get on Copy Section? How do I get on Iron
Well,
Shot?
okay.
So
Honestly,
gatekeeping doesn't just mean you don't let people in.
No,
It's just you are the decision maker.
Okay, let's be real. I'll be real. I go through what comes out, and I go, okay, this fits our playlist.
Yeah.
I'm not just
But that's
putting you
a
on there.
gatekeeper.
No, it's not a gatekeeper. I'm
It
not
is.
gatekeeper. I'm not stopping you from
You're
going
at the
on
gate.
But
I
you
want to
also-
get on Trackstarz.
Yeah.
Jeremiah's the gatekeeper of Trackstarz.
And I said that in my text. I was like, yeah, you're going to have to email DJ Jeremiah.
That's how it
I
works.
think,
But here's the thing, though.
but I don't look at it from a standpoint of. I'll say
Yeah.
this: like if somebody gave me a song and I like the record, I'm like, dope. You know what I'm saying? If I hear a song that I may not like, then I may be like, okay, I could put it on there, but it won't be on the copy section.
What
you
if,
get what
what
I'm
if
saying?
it was a young man that was like pulling out guns and on the in the video, or a young lady that was shaking things? Wouldn't
yeah.
you say we can't?
I mean,
play
that's
that.
to me, that's just not that's not
gatekeeping.
gatekeeping to
That
me.
is.
That's more like I don't know if somebody need to have a conversation
did
with
it
you
this
about
week.
your.
You're
about your-
watching the gate. You are the one you're the one checking to see what comes in.
But
and what goes out.
but we're talking. I'm not talking about like somebody who's fresh off the street. I'm talking about. I think for us, for using copy section, it's a bunch of songs that come out. So I was like, we only have a 12 situation.
Yeah.
We don't. It's not just
Well, also,
everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Also, to back you up, too, you may not know they're releasing. So,
I see. I mean, my
that's
thing
what happens with the independent artist spotlight.
To be fair, I get it from a gentleman named Dad by Faith. He works for New Release Today, and he brings out and says, "Hey, this is what releases," and then I go and listen and go, "Okay,
So
these
he's
are the
the
releases."
gatekeeper.
And people are going to also
But
say,
no, he puts out everybody. He's just like Rapzilla. Like Rapzilla put out everybody.
Rapzilla gatekeeps as well.
Well,
All
yeah.
of us do.
Yeah, but they're also going to say, too, that...
But okay, no, I'm sorry to cut you
No,
off.
you're-
But for me, it's not like you can go around us.
Yeah, but each of us has a gate, and you're keeping ours. I
get that,
It's
but
not it's not negative inherently. What people are upset about is there a blacklist?
Yeah.
Are you calling Rapzilla and saying,
Oh,
"Hey,
no.
yo, if you put so and so on there, we ain't gonna be cool no more"?
No.
That's what they're. That's the fear.
That's what the
happening.
Marcus Rogers is saying.
That's what
Like,
they're
yo,
talking-
And
it's not
that's-
just gatekeeping. It's the
Blocking
behind
blessings,
the
yeah.
scenes
Yeah.
stuff.
And we've had artists tell us that happened to them. They've
I know
told
it
us
has.
that about platforms, and they've also told us that about, shows.
Yeah, I
You
know for a fact.
I
it
can't
has.
be on the same show with this dude because he told everybody
but
not to
I guess the
book
question
me.
is that happening with us? Are we doing that to people?
I think so.
Have y'all ever made a call to somebody? Because I've never
Oh,
made a call to somebody.
make a
that
call to say, "Hey, you shouldn't
Don't-
put so and so on"?
Yeah.
No, I've never done that, but I did have to take someone off of Nectar this week because they violated our terms.
Well, that's violation.
But that's
right, but that's
literally
me keeping
the
them.
gate.
I had to take all their music down. I took 20 projects off the.
So
the
they
site.
may be like, "Man, Trackstarz gatekeeping."
But okay, so
Yeah.
what was the reason?
Woo.
No, I mean you don't have to go into detail, but what was the reason why you would say was that person a Christian rapper? Was that person?
Scandalous. It was scandalous.
It was scandalous, but it was also I guess the best way to put it is heresy.
Oh,
That was the best way to put it.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where people feel like certain people are being heretics,
But what I'm saying,
and they're
But-
trying to keep them out.
but what I'm saying to you guys is this, and using our space as Christian hip hop as an example, there's people that can go around this. There's
It
people.
takes longer though.
No, but what I'm saying is there's people who are successful that didn't go to Rapzilla. It's some people that's successful that
Yeah.
didn't go to Trackstarz.
There's
They
nobody
figure-
who could keep you out completely.
Like
yeah.
like now,
Yeah.
like remember we had that conversation with my man at I think Kev Morris when he was telling us about TikTok,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the Christian hip hop
But
version.
that's
of
not the
TikTok.
point. It still hurts to know that people are going around saying, "Hey, don't work with so and so." That still hurts. Even
Oh,
if
yeah,
you
of
can
course.
get around them, that's still being blackballed. That's still being gatekept.
But what I'm saying, I can't talk
Mm-hmm.
about everybody. I can just talk about our brand.
Yeah.
I don't think you're telling people calling chat like, "Hey man, don't mess with such and such." Like I've never made no call to nobody like that.
I've had to deal with this in a way that Pastor Pagani has talked about. Like my church calls me and says, "Hey, we're thinking about doing a youth event. who can you suggest
He
that
does
can
it.
come out?
Oh yeah, you
Ryan's a
definitely-
and
gatekeeper
I'll
for
be
real.
like,
He
and
an
I'll
old
be like,
school
okay,
gatekeeper.
yeah, I'll.
Like, nah, don't put them on.
And
That's
the only
Ryan.
reason I had to do that is because they asked me to go. They were like, "Hey, we need to make sure if we put this person on, it's nothing crazy on their social media. It's nothing, we're not gonna find out about their lifestyle being XYZ. They're not smoking weed or doing anything crazy like that." And I'd be like, "Okay, hold on, let me edit the list because I do know that some of these folks are in Atlanta. You asked me for Atlanta artists. I just gave you a list of Atlanta artists, but hold on, some of these folks I don't agree.
So at
with
the end of the
being in front
day,
of our youth.
what's the responsibility of the gatekeepers? Because we are one of them. What's the responsibility of the people who make the decisions?
Yeah.
They say that this is actually really good insight for the Hardly Initiated brothers. They say that the guests that go on their show call somebody, I don't know who they're talking about, to be like, are they okay, right? And he's basically like, if you put Tiffany on, I may not say yes again. That's a straight up gatekeeper blackball threat. You know what I mean? So what is
that's
our responsibility?
wrong, though. That to me, that's wrong for somebody to block somebody because you don't like what's.
But what if you feel like it's dangerous?
That's what the problem
Like
is.
if you really thought it was dangerous and they were asking for your advice,
is is it dangerous, or you just don't like what that person is saying?
dangerous to the gospel.
just what Pagani said. They believe it's dangerous. They genuinely believe it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's tough because I feel like at the end of the day, if it's a disagreement that me and that person is having, and you're disguising it as dangerous.
Well, that's the problem with this particular situation. Is it really dangerous, or is it like, if you mess with them, I'm out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
I think that's
it's one and the same.
Yeah.
though. It's one and the same.
so. Your boy got the call too.
Ooh,
Your boy, he must have got the call too.
I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, he got you quote what I was talking about.
Nah, I didn't.
What are you talking about?
So in the beginning, what my man said, he said a prominent.
Oh yeah, no. We already discussed that on the call who we thought it was. But
Oh, it's clear to tell who it is.
yeah. But no, I think that in that situation, they're afraid of what she might say, right? Because it's all over the internet. Things are going crazy. And then they're also thinking that might have been about somebody personally that they know.
Well, that's where the alignment. This goes back to what Marcus said initially. That's where the alignment happens. That even if you don't have a problem with them, because they're coming at your person, you have to automatically
Ride with them.
ride with them. So
Yeah.
that's where the
Yeah.
whole gang thing comes in. So it's like East Coast, West Coast. Like you come at my person, now I got to come at you, and then you got that person got to. So that's kind of like the dynamics behind the scenes.
Yeah.
That's where it gets to be.
That's
maybe you're abusing it a little bit, and maybe y'all need to stop doing that and just come together, make a decision. How we moving forward, and then separate.
That's what happened with Bryson Gray and John Keith, and then everybody from Indie Tribe had to kind of come in and like try to help that situation out. On
I mean, he in a meeting with
the
them.
520 podcast.
Yeah, he in a
But
meeting with
but again, that's a good example of coming together, talking it out privately, because I believe a lot of those conversations happen privately, and then you decide like, but the public or behind the scenes shifting and calling so and so such and such. That's where I think Pagani is saying it could be going too far.
Yeah.
Going a little too far when it just becomes territorial like that.
But to me, I think the only way you gatekeep people, and this is my personal opinion, is if you think like our platform. Like I can't. To me, I think you shouldn't call no other body's platform. You should. It's almost like church.
But what if they ask you?
I mean, it's
What if
like,
somebody calls, "Hey, Jeremiah, is old boy okay? We about to have him on. We about to feature him. You thumbs up."
I'm saying I don't know who old boy is. Do I know him?
Yes, they're asking you because it's so and so that we've had a problem with, and they're calling and saying, "Hey, is so and so okay?" You saying yes or no?
No,
You're saying,
no.
I'm staying out of it.
No, what I would say is, okay, this is what happened. I would let them know what happened, and I'll be like, that's really up on you guys. What you gonna do? Because I don't want to stop. To me, I think like if you deep down got beef with somebody, like if it's a theological issue, then it's like you let them know and be like, okay, this is what this person believes, blah, blah, blah. If you guys want, I don't know if it's wisdom if you want to have that person on, but that's
think it's
really
the
up to
same
you.
effect, though.
But if I got beef with you and I'm like, nah, man, that dude did such and such, I think that's a hard situation for you because for you now, you're like, you don't want to forgive that person for what they said, what they did, and you're like trying to block them from going on these other platforms
You have
from
to
doing that.
You're right. You have to decide: is this a true spiritual biblical issue, or is this a personal
vendetta
issue?
Yeah.
If you can't separate those two, you may need to chill out for a second.
Because I intercepted an email just this week about someone wanting to come on the show, and I saw where they were mentioning that they wanted to talk about like Hebrew Israelite stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, let me go through this with a fine tooth comb because I'm trying to see what side you're on. So in a sense, I was gatekeeping. I was gatekeeping, but it was just because I knew that if they went through our regular channel of communication, that might get missed.
Yeah, there'll be somebody here that may be a wolf trying to preach things, and this happened before where somebody slid through that we thought was in one situation, ended up being in another situation, and they tried to slide some things over our airway.
Yeah.
So it happens. So, but that's where
early on.
That's where it goes from responsibility
Yeah.
versus being a problem. It's still a responsibility to make sure that when somebody comes here, and even with Marcus, I didn't agree with everything Marcus said, but it still was challenged.
Yeah.
At least challenge it, because you have people that trust you, and if they think you're co-signing what the person is saying, it could be confusing.
But I think
that's the problem.
But I do think sometimes the reason why we are when we first started, and it's like before COVID too, we used to have people just come here, like come here and they chill and y'all love what y'all do, blah blah blah. Somebody get on the mic, may say something or whatever. And I think after COVID, we was kind of like really particular, like, okay, we got to make sure everybody signed this. And then we got our deal with Holy Culture. So now everybody just can't, you know what I mean? So we're very particular about who comes and sit in these seats. Now that we're starting to see the influence that we're having. And then also now it's like, this is in essence like a pulpit. It's like, you don't know who's coming here that like if somebody asks me something, hey man, I want to come on the show. Like you said, let me see what they're about. Now we're at that place.
But it doesn't exclude us from being able to have hard conversations.
Yeah,
if somebody
too.
comes on that we disagree with and we talk about the disagreement, to me that's okay because that's a needed conversation where people need to see how you process through those things.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean you can't do that. And I don't think them having Tiffany. The only problem I would say with the Tiffany being on the show, which could have been a problem for them, is because it felt like she came on vindictively. But just her coming and kind of like giving her side of the story.
That's not like the first time she was on it. She's been on it.
But the other times, no problem. But I'm talking about that particular time came was
it was too hot.
Like it seemed like a hit, It
was hot.
So that's where it would be like, if you call me, I'll be like, that one may let her chill off a little bit because she seems like she's speaking out of anger, not of any kind of wisdom.
But even if you would have, if that was fresh off that week, and y'all would have told her, hey, give us like 2 weeks, and we'll come back, and you can come back, and she came back 2 weeks, and still, what's the difference?
I mean, there was more time that elapsed in the rest of that situation, how it played out.
I will say even in the midst of that, they pushed back with their questions.
Yeah.
I will give it to them. They were like, well, then why this and why? Like, so to me, if you're gonna do it, they did it. They did a good job at it.
Yeah.
I know I would know why she's coming. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like a.
But then even for them, using them as an example, they may, like you said, know why she's coming.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is hot right now, and we got
Tupac.
That's where we got Tupac on the mic.
That's where your eldership comes in. Like even if it's hot, is it worth it?
Yeah.
That's where you got to make a decision.
We've had
to make that decision sometimes where it's like, man, this would be hot, but it's just not right.
Yeah.
You know. So everybody has to decide that for themselves.
Yeah.
You guys are gatekeepers of your own ears, so you have to decide what comes in and out. And we appreciate you for listening to us today.